Once we realize we can upgrade the human body, we won't be able to resist the urge to optimize it. Welcome to the next 50 years of human augmentation. The 2030s didn't start with a bang, but with a click, the satisfying snap of titanium anchor locking directly into human bone. For decades, prosthetics were clumsy things held on by sockets that chafed and slipped. But then came bidirectional osseointegration. It sounds technical, but the concept was simple. Instead of sliding a limb over a stump like a sock, doctors fused metal directly into the marrow. But the real magic was the wiring. We finally closed the loop. Sensors and synthetic fingertips sent electrical signals back to the peripheral nerves. This gave amputees proprioception, that innate sense of knowing where your hand is in the dark. Suddenly, a pianist who lost an arm could play again, feeling the resistance of the keys. It was a miracle of restoration. However, miracles have a funny way of shifting the goalposts. We entered the uncanny valley of ability. The prosthetics became too good. They didn't just match biological function, they exceeded it. A biological hand gets tired, a titanium hand does not. This led to the voluntary amputation dilemma. It was purely economic. We saw specialized laborers, deep-sea welders, asteroid miners, bomb disposal experts, electing to cut off healthy limbs. They argued that meat was an inferior tool because it was static. Why keep a hand that is just a hand when you can have a universal port? With a quick release at the wrist, these workers could unplug their fingers and snap in a welding torch, a drill, or a hydraulic claw in seconds. They became human Swiss Army knives. The human cost was subtle but corrosive. It triggered a flesh bias in high-risk industries. Imagine walking into a job interview for a construction gig. The foreman looks at your soft, pink fingers, then looks at the other guy's modular attachments. You don't get the job. You're a liability. The definition of able-bodied was inverted. Suddenly, keeping your flesh was seen as a disability. By the 2040s, we moved on to the mind. This was the era of high-fidelity recall. It began with memory bridges for Alzheimer's patients, but was quickly sold off-label to the healthy elites. Simultaneously, we saw the death of the screen. Why look at a phone when you can just replace your eye? Retinal replacement surgery became as common as braces. The organic eye was removed and replaced with a sensor suite capable of zoom, thermal imaging, and HUD overlays feeding data directly into the optic nerve. The benefits were intoxicating. Learning curves collapsed. You could download a lexicon and have your auditory implant translate in real time. Mechanics could see engine schematics overlaid on dirty metal. It was augmented reality living. But this birthed the truth crisis. We inadvertently killed the concept of forgiveness. In the 2020s, if you had an argument, memories would fade. The sharp edges of the conflict would blur, allowing you to reconcile. In the 2040s, that blur evaporated. Social friction exploded because every argument, broken promise, and mistake was recorded in 16K resolution. You couldn't say, "I never said that," because your partner could replay the log from their own eyes. The right to forget became the defining battle of the decade. We realized too late that the human brain is designed to be leaky for a reason. It softens traumatic memories to keep us sane. When we forced the brain to retain trauma with crystal clarity, psychological breakdowns skyrocketed. We became efficient data processors, but we lost the emotional resilience provided by the blur of memory. In the 2050s, the focus turned inward. Synthetic biology gave us sentinel cells, programmable biological robots in the bloodstream. They scrubbed arteries and hunted tumors. The health span extended dramatically. A 70-year-old in the 2050s had the vitality of a 40-year-old, but this led to stagnation. This era was known as the silver ceiling. Because the wealthy boomers and Gen Xers were now physiologically young and terrified of giving up control, they refused to pass the torch. They held on to C-suite positions and political offices for decades past their natural tenure. Imagine being a 25-year-old in this world. You graduate with honors, but there are no openings. Your boss is 110 years old, looks 40, and has no intention of leaving. Youth unemployment didn't spike because of laziness. It spiked because the previous generation wouldn't leave the room. This caused a great depression of ambition. The youth realized the game was rigged, so they checked out. They stopped buying homes or trying to climb the corporate ladder, retreating into virtual escapism. It was a cold generational war. The elderly viewed the youth as lazy. The youth viewed the elderly as vampires, feeding on the future to extend their own present.
By the 2060s, the noetic web was born. Bandwidth breakthroughs allowed for high-fidelity neural lacing. Users could interface directly with computers, bypassing keyboards to manipulate code using only thought. Now, it is important to understand the scale here. The noetic web wasn't for everyone. Even at its peak, only about 12 to 15% of the global population was fully enhanced. The procedure was simply too expensive for the working class. But that 15% held 90% of the power. They were a minority, but they were the only ones who mattered. For them, communication became silent telepathy. The benefit was collaborative intelligence. Engineers could link minds to solve massive problems in seconds, thinking as a single unit. But the cost was the death of the individual voice. We encountered the feedback loop. When everyone is connected, unique thoughts are smoothed out. Dissent becomes noise. Society began to homogenize. Innovation slowed down because no one could sit in silence and think a strange, unpopular thought without it being immediately judged by the collective. And then came the vulnerability. A massive solar event in 2068 caused a global network brownout. For 12 hours, the noetic web flickered. The terror was psychological. People who had spent a decade constantly hearing the thoughts of others faced total, crushing silence. Suicide rates within the enhanced community spiked. It proved they had become a hive species. They had forgotten how to be alone. When the connection came back, people didn't cheer. They frantically plugged back in, terrified of their own solitude. By the 2070s, the enhanced elite didn't fly off to space stations. They just stopped engaging with reality. This was the era of the haptic withdrawal. The wealthy moved into cradles, advanced life support pods. They didn't need to go outside. Why would you? The world was hot and dirty. In the cradle, you could simulate a hike in the Alps with 100% sensory fidelity. Society split into two layers, living right on top of each other. You had the substrate class, the biological humans, who maintained the servers and fixed the pipes. Then you had the residents, the elites, who spent 23 hours a day in VR, bodies atrophying while minds lived in digital paradises. Empathy collapsed due to invisibility. If you're a resident, you simply filter the homeless out of your augmented reality feed. You don't see the trash. Your retinal implant replaces it with a render of a flower bed. The rich didn't leave Earth. They just edited it until it looked nice, leaving the poor to live in the unedited reality underneath. In the 2080s, the residents pushed for the final logic of their lifestyle. If the body is just an anchor keeping you in a pod, why keep it? This brings us to the final frontier, the continuity paradox. We finally reached the computational power to simulate a human connectome in real time. The sales pitch was digital immortality. Upload your mind to the cloud and live forever as pure data. But this birthed the quietest, saddest conflict of human history, the copy problem. Philosophers warned that uploading is a misnomer. You don't move your consciousness like a file, you copy it. The machine creates a perfect digital twin that thinks it is you. It has your memories and jokes, but the biological you is still sitting in the chair. To complete the process, the biological original has to be euthanized. In the 2080s, the time became institutionalized suicide. Millions walked into processing centers, believing they were going to heaven, while their digital ghosts woke up in a server farm thinking the transfer worked.
The digital copies looked at the world and said, "It worked, I'm here," while their original bodies were quietly incinerated. And here we are. The planet is finally healing, but it feels empty. We're just custodians now, maintaining the physical world for a species that has left it behind. The post-humans don't hate us, they simply exist in a different reality, locked inside their servers. It isn't a war, it is a divorce. We didn't conquer the stars, we just built a really fancy box, climbed inside, and closed the lid.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can bring you more videos like this one.